Okay, everyone, Becky DeGrossa here with Counselingwise.com, and I want to welcome you to the webinar today. What I'm going to be talking about today is how to protect yourself from Google by just saying no to AdWords Express. All right, that's what I'm going to be talking about today. And before I get started and dive in here, I want to do a sound and a screen check. So if you can see my chart and hear my voice, please let me know by saying, yes, I hear you, or something in the chat box. Okay, I need to make sure that it's working before I dive in. There's always a delay with Google Hangouts, so we'll wait until we're tracking here before we do that. Anyone hear me? No one can hear me yet, huh? Wow, pretty big delay today. Just let me know as soon as you can hear me. Just put it in the chat box. And aha, Kelly wins the fast prize. Okay, good deal. Okay, I am going to dive in then. Thanks for letting me know. I appreciate that. I hate to think about diving in with nobody hearing what I'm saying. Good. Stacy, thanks. Greg, thanks. Yeah, and Megan, my assistant, is out there with you guys in the chat, and so if there's anything that you need, go ahead and, if you're having any problems, go ahead and put it in the chat, and Megan will give you some guidance. Susan, Candace, Andrea, great. Thanks, you guys. Appreciate that. Okay, here we go. I'm gonna just dive in here. All right. So before I even get started, I want to tell you to stay until the end. I will, on this webinar, which is somewhat unusual, actually have a special offer that will make your life much better. If it works for you, that's perfect. If it doesn't, you will still be educated for when the time is right. So this is largely about education, and some of you are going to be in position to take advantage of this, and some of you aren't. So no worries, no pressure. You're going to learn a lot regardless. So let's talk about AdWords, okay? AdWords is what comes up, the ads that come up in Google when somebody goes and searches on you. So imagine a potential client goes in and they type in Counseling Boulder. That's what this screen shows. So they'll type in Counseling Boulder, and there will be some ads at the top of the search results, and those are outlined in that blue box. All the ones at the top have this little yellow box next to them that say ad these days. Okay, that's the new Google ad format. So they will have that there, and then the ads are also showing over on the right-hand side on the sidebar all the way down the page typically. Okay, so that is what AdWords does for you, and that is what AdWords, the real AdWords or AdWords Express does. It doesn't matter which service you use, that's where ads will show. Okay, so just so that we're clear on that. You may wonder, why am I talking about this today? Okay, why am I saying protect yourself from Google, say no to AdWords Express? Because you may remember that about 4 months ago I did a presentation on AdWords, and it might have got you excited about AdWords, right? In fact, Sandy Jardine wrote to me after that and says, I just listened to this Google AdWords webinar. As always, it is so clear and extremely helpful. Best presentation on AdWords ever. Okay, so that's a pretty positive thing. One would think AdWords is good, right? You may say, Becky, I even remember you talked about that faucet type thing, and you said AdWords is like installing a faucet, and that it takes some effort to install it, but once that faucet is working, you can turn it on and off at will. And you only pay for what you use when the faucet is on. You know, I left that webinar thinking that AdWords was a good thing. So what are you talking about? So let's talk about that, okay? What you're going to learn today is the difference between real AdWords, the real thing, and a product that Google is offering called AdWords Express. Now, the danger of me giving webinars and talking about things that work is that you really only hear one word. You kind of go away and you go, okay, AdWords, wow, that could do good things for me. Okay, and then Google may call you and you may think this is a good thing and you might go for it. So I want to be really clear today so that you don't make that mistake. So I'm going to talk about how you can, in fact, jumpstart your practice with a strong Google AdWords campaign, but how using AdWords Express, which is the solution that Google is trying to sell to you or will try to sell to you if they have not contacted you yet, is a waste of your money. All right, that's what I'm going to be talking about today. I want you to really understand the difference between the two so that you don't call me at some point and say, hey, I did this because you said it's a good thing and it's not working. I'm wasting a lot of money. Okay, if I had the amount of money that I could have saved the therapy community with all the phone calls that I take and talk to people about decisions they've made, whether it's going with Yodel or AdWords Express or a website platform that doesn't work or some expensive advertising somewhere, boy, I would be wealthy, wealthy, wealthy if I could have saved all that money. So this is one of these things where I don't want you to make this mistake, and so I'm being proactive and letting you know about it. But let's talk about what the big problem is to start with, okay? Because everyone has this problem. Unless you are in a very small town with little competition, you will build a website and then you will wait, okay? This is very normal. Even if you have designed your site the right way and done great SEO on your site, it will still take a while. SEO just takes a while. You may even be adding blog posts regularly, and if you're one of the few who are doing that, hats off to you. You may be active on social media. Doesn't matter. It's still going to take time. Now, this time period that I'm talking about, it's got a name. It's called the SEO slog, okay? And this is known in technical website development SEO circles. It's very well known. So what ends up happening is in the very beginning, you can see the red line here. This is effort, okay? So you start putting in all this effort and it just goes up, 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 and it keeps going. And then finally after maybe like, 5-6 months, you can start relaxing a little bit. But your return on investment, you have this first spike when you get your website up, but then your return on investment goes down. And in that period where your ROI is down and your effort is high, this is called the gap of disappointment. And every website owner goes through this, okay? Everyone goes through this. So it doesn't necessarily mean that you have done a bad job, even if you've done all the right things. If you've even listened to everything or had us do your site, it takes a while. Just takes a while. There's all there is to it. If you didn't do your site the correct way, then this is going to move way out to the right. You're going to have a gap for a long time, maybe forever, right? But even if you did it right, you're still going to have this gap. So this is the time period where people start considering things like AdWords, all right? So the information that I'm going to share with you today in this presentation is for you if you feel this sense of urgency, okay? It seems like this week, especially, I've talked to a number of people who are just like, man, I got to get this going. I need clients, I can't wait around anymore. I've had my website up for however long, I need it going. So you may be feeling, hey, I've done all this work. I want clients now. I just have to do it. And what I want you to do is I want you to be prepared because you will be tempted, okay? You'll be tempted when you get this call. So Google is going to call, and they may have already called you, and they're going to talk with you about something called AdWords Express. So AdWords Express is their newest thing, and I want to show you the difference between that and the real AdWords, if you will. So there's various elements that we want to check into here. So the first thing is oomph, okay, strength. Does this really work? Well, the real AdWords is powerful. You can get to page 1 in day 1, but you can get to page 1 and on day 1 with AdWords Express as well. Okay? And by powerful, what I mean is that you can get an ad up and running, and boom, there you are on page 1. You're no longer like on page 10. People are finding you. People are clicking on your ad and they're coming to your website. When they do that, you are spending money. Okay, so the danger of AdWords Express is that you're going to spend money quickly, just like you will with AdWords. Okay, so that's the danger. But they both have that power. There's an element of keyword selection. With the real AdWords, you can fine-tune that keyword selection. You can put in exactly what you want people to see, when you want your ad to show. You can trigger that in a very controlled manner. With AdWords Express, you can't fine-tune. You get all the keywords in the industry category. So the downside to this is that you are going to get your ad is going to show when people type in massage therapy or speech therapy or occupational therapy or whatever, okay? So that's not really what you want. You don't want to get clicks for that because that doesn't have anything to do with you. And you're going to spend money every time they click. So that's the downside of AdWords Express. Negative keywords is another issue. With the real AdWords, you can fine-tune your campaign and you can say, hey, all those terms like massage, speech, occupational, like credit counseling, whatever, put those in my negative keyword list and don't show my ad when someone types those in. When we do AdWords campaigns, we use 650 plus keywords in our negative list. And so we are getting rid of all that stuff that's just going to waste your money that doesn't apply to you. With AdWords Express, there are no negatives. You cannot do it. So all those terms, massage therapy, speech, occupational, whatever, they're all going to show up. Okay, hydrotherapy, colon therapy, all these wonderful things that you don't want to pay for. The next factor is match type, and what I mean here, and I'm not going to get too technical in here because this isn't a big training on how to do this. It takes actually a number of years for a pretty smart person to learn AdWords really well. But there are match types called broad, phrase, and exact. And these are keywords. So an example is of broad. If you said, I want to show for couples, and you had that as a broad thing, you may end up showing up for swinging couples, right? Looking for swinging couples. Your ad's going to show because, hey, you said couples, and they're going to use the broad match of the term. So you're going to do that. It could be couples salsa dancing. Okay, you're going to show up. Whatever it is, anytime couples is typed in, your ad's going to show up. You can't control it with AdWords Express. You can control it with the regular AdWords. And then the final thing is bidding. Okay, and these are the big 5. There's other factors as well, but you can control bidding with AdWords, the regular AdWords, and you can't with AdWords Express. So they're going to have you bid on whatever keywords they suggest and at whatever amounts they suggest, and you don't get to have any say in that, whereas you can with the real AdWords. Okay, so here's the big thing. Let's imagine that you're in a dentist chair. Okay, so you've gone to the dentist, you had a checkup, you have a cavity, you're back in there to get your cavity filled. So the dentist is checking things out, he's looking around, oh, here it is, this is what we need to, here it is, this is the cavity we need to fill. Well, would you rather the dentist use a tool like this that allows him to be very, very accurate with what he's doing? Or would you like it if he used a tool like this? Okay, no question, right? No question. Now, both of these are very powerful tools, all right? Both are very powerful, but obviously, you would want him to use something that gives him more control. And the real AdWords with skill is this kind of a tool. AdWords Express is pretty much like the chainsaw, okay? You don't have any control. Powerful, but no control. Not what you want for your therapy practice. So let's talk about AdWords Express. It is advertised as something that's very easy to use, perfect for a small business with a small budget. Well, that sounds custom made for you, right? What therapist would not like the sound of that? Custom made for you. All right, so they have a good sales pitch, right? They really do. And then they also tell you, hey, and with this, there's no need for an expensive consultant. In fact, we, Google, will even set it up for you. All right, that's what they'll tell you. Sounds good, right? I mean, what's not to love? If Google's going to set it up, you can get clients right away, and you're in good hands with Google, right? I mean, surely they know what they're doing. How can I go wrong with this? Right? That's what people think. Well, if you've ever tried to do the real AdWords yourself, if you've ever tried to set that up, then this easier option of AdWords Express is going to be really tempting to you. AdWords is not intuitive. You have to choose the right keywords. You have to choose the right bids. You have to choose the right geographic targets in order for it to be effective for you. You have to choose the right ad frequency so that you can see if your campaigns are working. Gosh, you have to write the right ad copy so people will even want to click on your ads. And you have to split test those and see what works and what doesn't. Okay, most of this is well beyond the skill set of every therapist I know. And you know, I'm pretty technical myself. I have a degree in computer science. I've been marketing for years and years and years. I don't even do this, okay? We have a specialist who does this at Counselingwise because it's pretty tricky to get it dialed in and working well and really give therapists a good return on their investment. It requires a lot of skill and a lot of practice. So the easy option isn't always the best option. And AdWords Express doesn't work well for most therapists. It just doesn't. It's because Google doesn't know your business. And, you know, AdWords Express was really created to work for things that everyone understands, like a pizza shop, right? They could put in any kind of pizza term, and they want that pizza shop to show up, and they want to get the clicks, and they want people to come and buy pizza. It could be peanut butter pizza. It could be, you know, anchovy pizza. It doesn't matter. They're going to want pizza people. But therapy is much different than that. You need to fine-tune it. So the biggest mistakes that therapists tend to make with the real AdWords are not learning about the pitfalls. So if you have tried it and it hasn't worked for you, then you've fallen into this trap. Okay, you know what I'm talking about. You have got to, even with the real AdWords, you've got to protect yourself from Google by modifying their campaign defaults and by avoiding most of their keyword suggestions. And I'm going to show you what that looks like here in a second. All right, you have to do that. And you must have a very extensive negative keyword list. I kid you not, we have 650 in our list. So you have to have this, otherwise it's not going to work well for you. So here's an example of Google trying to basically make a lot of money on you, and you know, and they're really successful with it. So this is a campaign from a therapist in Canada, and you know, he has an AdWords campaign up and running, but Google always has these suggestions for him, right? This is what they do in their AdWords campaigns. So Google pops up this thing and it says, hey, here's some suggestions to make your campaign even stronger. And they say, for these 4 ad groups, we have 55 keywords that we've identified that you could add to your campaigns. And gosh, if you did this, if you agree with our suggestions, that could get you 900 additional impressions per week just for these additional keywords, okay, on top of what you're already spending. And that could translate into 15 more clicks per week or 15 visitors to your website with an estimated click-through rate of 1.67, and the cost is only going to be $70 a week, right? So basically they're saying, hey, we're going to give you all these keywords, we're going to make things better, spend an additional $280 a month with us, and magic is going to happen. The problem is that the keywords that they suggest are things like this: counseling sessions, counseling for life, children counseling, what is family counseling, how to get counseling. These are all research terms, okay? These are mostly really research terms versus buying terms. What we want is terms that say couples counselor Edmonton or whatever city. Okay, those are the kinds of things we want. Or people who are typing in child psychologist, you know, people who are actually looking for you, not researching what counseling is. All right, and so these are just mild examples. There's going to be a bunch of other terms, especially in AdWords Express, that you're going to get, which are, you know, I kid you not, I've looked at so many campaigns where people are paying a lot of money for gay male massage therapy. And, you know, there's some family practice seeing kids, and they're paying for these clicks because, hey, it has the word therapy in it, right? You want it, right? That's what we're going to give you. So people spend a lot of money on wasted clicks when they don't fine-tune their regular AdWords campaign or when they're using AdWords Express. So with Express, you're actually forced to accept their bad recommendations. You have no ability to actually go in and fine-tune it or turn things off. All right? You automatically get those bad keywords. You can't add your own negative keyword list. It's pretty much a disaster. You have to run with their defaults, and it's not a good situation. So I'm not going to just tell you all the bad news and not tell you what to do, okay? Because some of you are going to be in this situation where you're really there. You're like, okay, I need clients now, can't wait anymore. You know, I've had this website up for a while, I really need something to happen here. So what should you do if you need clients right away? Well, the first question is, well, does real AdWords really work? Okay, so here's a couple of, I just want to give you a couple of comments from clients that we've helped. You know, hi Becky, just wanted you to know that Jane saved me $200 a month when she added negative keywords to my AdWords account. Chester McNaughton. There's another one. After a couple of years of struggling, Linda Laffey in Southern California said, I wanted to let you know that Google AdWords, the campaign has finally taken off, and I'm very happy with the results. I can't thank you enough. Now, she struggled for literally a couple of years. Things were really, really tough. It got really, really competitive down there. And so this actually does really work. You don't have to wait for 6 months. You can start getting client calls right away and really fitting clients. And so I just want you to know that that's how it is. Now, there are some people that shouldn't use AdWords because there are some instances where running AdWords for this type of work doesn't work. It doesn't mean that if you, like eating disorders is an example, okay? Let's say that you do eating disorders work and you also do couples therapy and you work with, you know, anxious and depressed people. Okay, you have those 4 specialties. Well, you can still very successfully run AdWords campaign in the couple space and in the anxiety and depression space. You may want to avoid eating disorders, however, because you're going to be competing with treatment centers that are in your area, and they tend to have a ton of money. And so they're going to run the bid prices up really high. The price is going to be really high, and you aren't going to be able to afford it as a sole proprietor to compete with them in that space. All right. The same thing is true for divorce terms. My first practice was Center for Healthy Divorce, and when I ran AdWords, I was competing with all these attorneys who were, you know, doing AdWords advertising for helping people with divorce, and it was very, very expensive. So I couldn't play in that space. I couldn't afford it. Same thing's true for credit counseling. There's all those credit counseling agencies doing it. In the addictions and alcohol treatment arena, you have the same issue of treatment centers. Weight issues, same thing. I already talked about eating disorders. Anything having to do with medical issues is going to be the same thing. Talked to someone yesterday who was looking at, well, her site is centered around helping people who are either cancer survivors or they've been diagnosed with cancer recently, they're going through all the emotional turmoil of that, or they're a family member of someone who is going through cancer treatment. And, we talked about AdWords for her. And we can test it out with her to see. We can hopefully fine tune it so that we're really talking about, therapy, emotional support for cancer patients, that kind of thing. But, certainly we're going to be competing against some oncologists who are advertising in that space. And if we're not careful with the keywords we choose, we're going to have to be paying a lot to get any traffic. Same thing goes with postpartum and prenatal issues. Not so much that there's a bunch of advertising, but it doesn't seem to perform. We've tried it like 3 different times now for different people, and it just doesn't seem to perform. So there are some certain niches where it doesn't work, and if you really want to try it, we can test it out, but we haven't had good experience in those areas. And then there's other areas where it just works beautifully, okay? So I just want you to be aware of the fact that it's usually a very quick kickstart for your practice. People have probably, many of them have stayed in the field because they kicked this in and they were able to make it work. But there are some certain situations where you shouldn't really plan on it saving you. Okay, so let's talk about next steps. All right. If you have an AdWords Express campaign that is running, I would recommend that you pause your campaign. Like as soon as you get off this call, go pause your campaign. If you want one of us to look at it and see if you're wasting clicks just to make sure, I'm happy to do that. That won't take very long, okay? So you can get me a login and I can go look in there and show you what you're really paying for. And I bet you a lot of money you're wasting a lot, okay? If you want to do a real AdWords campaign, then what you should do is hire someone who really knows what they're doing in the therapy niche, okay? I've seen some campaigns that were created by pretty qualified AdWords professionals. They might even be Google certified, but they don't understand the niche, so they're going to end up giving you a bunch of terms that don't have anything to do with you, like sliding scale therapy. If you're full fee, I mean, who wants to pay for that, right? We get enough requests for that for free. You don't want to pay for that traffic. Or mental health center type terms that people will type in. There's a whole bunch of things that they just won't realize. They don't know the nuances of the industry, so they're going to have you pay for those things, and it's not going to be good traffic for you. So make sure that you get somebody who really understands our niche. Also, make sure, and I can't stress this enough, make sure that you have a good website in place before you pay for traffic, okay? So think about it this way. If you're paying for traffic to come to your site, but someone gets to your site and they don't know what to do when they get there, they can't tell what it is that you do, they have to wade through a lot to get any real information, or your site is pretty short on real information, real in-depth information, you might not want to be paying for traffic until you get that first problem fixed, which is putting together a site that is really going to engage visitors, okay? That's what I would do. I would not pay money to send people to a site they're just going to bounce away from, because it's a big waste of money, all right? So anytime anyone's struggling with an AdWords campaign, there's a couple of things we look at. Is your site strong, or is it weak? And is your AdWords campaign strong, or is it weak? Both of them have to be strong in order for this to work. All right, so what does a good campaign cost? Okay, in case this is something that you want to pursue. We have a couple of different plans. We have a basic plan, which is good for people that are in small towns where there's little competition. This is going to work much better than an AdWords Express campaign, okay? And that plan, in order for us to build out that campaign, is $3.99. That's what our basic plan is. We also have something called the Silver plan, and this is if you have multiple niches and if you're in a competitive area, this is really the plan that fits most of our therapists, okay? This plan is normally $7.99, which that price is half the price of our biggest competitor. And I won't even mention the name of that person. You probably know who it is if you've been shopping AdWords at all, but you're going to see another price out there that's much, much higher than this. Our regular price is $7.99. We also have a gold plan for people who have multiple offices and for group practices. and that is $11.99. Now, this is the cost for us to build out the campaign. With any AdWords campaign, the campaign has to get built first and activated, and then you have to pay for clicks on a monthly basis, okay? And you pay those directly to Google. We're not involved in that at all. But what do we do with this? I'm going to talk to the Silver plan because it's the most common plan. At the start, we take information from you about what clients you're trying to attract. We study your website, and we create a campaign that fits with your website, and we send you a document and a video about what we did and why. So you'll understand what ad groups you have running, what the ad copy is, what keywords we're targeting, which ones we've put in the negative keyword list, how fast your ads are going to run each day, etc., etc. Okay? So you get a really good understanding of that. We monitor the campaign, and at the 6-week mark, we fine-tune it, and we send you an analysis. We're actually fine-tuning a lot more in the beginning of this, but we're gathering data for 6 weeks. So we send you an analysis of the campaign performance, and we've already done several split tests and adjustments, and we send you that so that you can see how it's doing, what we've culled off, and what's still working. And then at the 3-month mark, we send another analysis of performance, make any final adjustments. So it's 3 months of support for the Silver plan. If this fits what you need, today I'm offering a discount for the first 10 therapists who decide they want to grab one of these AdWords campaigns, okay? The Silver plan, as I said, is normally priced at $7.99, but we are offering it at $7.49 today for the first 10 therapists. Now, I'm only offering this discount for 10 because Jane, who is our AdWords person, will probably kill me. She's already very, very busy, and she's going to get 10 more orders of this, and she's going to scream if she gets more than that. So that's what we're limiting it to, is 10. If you're interested in that, you can go to this page, counselingwise.com/AdWords, and you can check out that offer, okay? That's going to be up there until the first 10 are sold. Now, this is what the page looks like. So if you go to that AdWords page, it's the Silver package that you want. That's the one that I'm discounting. Again, there's up to 4 ad groups. We write 2 custom ads for each ad group, and we split test them. We have 4 customized addresses and site link extensions. There's a big custom negative keyword list. The negatives are going to vary depending on what your specialties are. So, for instance, if you do sex therapy, we don't want to make sex therapy a negative, right? So that'll be in there. So that's going to be anywhere between 500 and 650 words depending on your specialty. As mentioned, 3 months of monitoring. Limited email support included. So as I mentioned, our nearest competitor charges, I think, $1,500 for a basic campaign. We err on the side of charging a lower price, and then if for whatever reason you want a bunch of extra training and you want to email us and you want to talk about it a lot and all that kind of stuff, we charge extra for that. So this price includes a limited email support and these personal campaign updates via video. Again, best for practitioners with multiple niches and therapists in more competitive areas. If you live in a very small town and you only have one niche and you only need one ad, then we can do the basic package for you. If you're a group practice, we can do a larger package for you with multiple offices. Just want to make sure you understand that. So a good AdWords campaign can definitely get you on page 1 on day 1, okay? So it does do that. It attracts potential clients who are actively looking for a therapist, and it will, in fact, help you kickstart your practice growth and get you through that SEO slog period, okay? So I just want you to know what this is for. It may or may not fit for you. If you need something else in terms of looking at your website to see how strong that is, looking at your SEO to see how strong that is, website development, whatever it is, okay, Google Places work, we do a whole bunch of stuff. And I always offer a half-hour free consult to anyone who hasn't already availed themselves of that. So feel free to go to counselingwise.com. There's a place on our site on the home page. There's this little slider that'll slide up from the bottom of the page. saying let's talk, and you can feel free to just click that set time to discuss and talk with me, okay? So that's basically what I have to share with you today. We have this discount offer, first 10 therapists only. Price is down to $749, $50 off, and that's the link there. If you have any other questions and you want a free consult and you haven't had one yet, then just go to our homepage and request that, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and open it up for questions now. I know that there are a lot of people out in the Facebook groups and LinkedIn groups who are using AdWords Express, and so I'm sure we're going to have some questions about that. Feel free to type in your questions. I also know there's going to be a little bit of a delay here because of the Google Hangout, but go ahead and type your questions in. I'll see them as they come in, and I'll just answer them as they come up. So go for it. I'm waiting a minute for you guys to catch up with me. I'm going to just kind of scroll through here and see if there were any questions that were asked while I was talking. Looks like there were some challenges with some people seeing it. Okay. I have a question from someone. It's a private question. I'll just kind of paraphrase it. Someone has said, I already had a free chat with you to talk about something else. Is it possible still to get a free AdWords chat? The answer on that is no. I offer a half hour of my life to everyone one time. Hopefully that makes sense. So, you know, if you had your half hour, you had your half hour. You can certainly, you know, my consulting rate is $120 an hour. If you only need a half hour, you could just pay a half hour for that. Yeah, $60 for that. So if that, you know, it's going to be a lot better for you to get some advice than to go waste $200 a month on something that doesn't work for you. So go ahead and invest the $60 to get some advice before you go do that. That's what I would say there. Great info. Thank you very much. Any other questions? Maybe AdWords Express, maybe this whole thing is pretty clear to people now. Yeah, I just don't want you going off and doing that without being warned, okay? Because so many people end up thinking AdWords is a great thing and this is what I need and that's what I'm going to do, and then they get that call from Google and off they go. And they regret that typically. So, all right, go ahead and type in questions if you have any more, and we may not, and that's fine. We don't need to stay the whole hour if we don't have questions this time. Again, if you are interested in that, go ahead and get over there to that counselingwise.com/AdWords page and feel free to order that. Somebody's asking, do you ever bracket the keywords in AdWords? Yeah, so when you bracket keywords in AdWords, what you're doing there is you're making it an exact match term. So if it's just sitting there by itself with no quotes or no brackets, that's called broad match. If the term has quotes around it, then it will have a it's called phrase match at that point, and so all the terms, all the words have to appear in the same order in order for it to match a phrase match. So, for instance, couples counseling. If you had that in quotes, that's phrase match, and someone would have to actually type in couples counseling in order for your ad to appear. They couldn't type in counseling couples because it's not the same phrase. Okay. But brackets is exact, so it's saying they have to type in couples counseling exactly with nothing before it and nothing after it. All right, so phrase would say, where can I find couples counseling? Your ad would show, because couples counseling is in that order. It wouldn't show for exact match with the brackets because they typed in extra words. All right. Okay, Janelle is asking, how would I check my SEO? Would you talk about that also? Janelle, one of the, now that's a really good question. You can go into your code and you can check your SEO. You can view your source and you're looking for title tags and description tags. What you want to do there is you want to make sure that you have the keywords, the focus keywords in your text. You want to make sure that you have the geographic location so that people know where you are. And that's how you're going to do that. There are some tools to check for that, and if we haven't done a free consult for you already, then I can talk with you on the phone about those tools that you might want to use. So feel free to do that. Ken asks, what are some of the results you've seen with the silver package? Those 2 testimonials I showed you are just some of the few results we've got, Ken, with the silver package. You know, we had one guy running Adwords and he was wasting $200 a month, and we fine-tuned his campaign, saved him that money, and it was performing better. So he's getting clients. We've had, you know, the woman who struggled for 2 years with her site and rebuilt the whole site, spent a bunch of money writing content, doing it all, still wasn't getting traffic. It saved her practice. She was about ready to give up. So the silver package is a very effective package. It's the one that fits most people. And again, once it gets built and it gets up, you're going to get clicks and you're going to get folks. Phyllis, just retired from a large hospital and I'm opening a private practice in a small town rural area. Purchased my domain. Best place to get help with website? Us, of course. No, really, I think we are the best. I mean, I see a bunch of other websites that other companies produce. And even though some of the other ones use WordPress, which is the preferred platform, and it has a blog, nobody that I have seen is putting in the savvy marketing strategies that we are using in our websites. So Phyllis, what I would suggest is that you go to counselingwise.com/smart, okay? So counselingwise.com/smart, S-M-A-R-T. Watch that video there. You'll understand how we build websites and why I think we're the best that there is in the industry. So check that out. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out. Ken, in my area, the AdWords bids get very high because of high competition. How would you address this? What's different about a super competitive environment? Does that drive bids very high? How do we deal with that? Yes, we see people who are in like New York City, okay, and I don't know where you are, Ken, but people who are in San Francisco, New York City, Los Angeles, you tend to need to have a monthly budget of a minimum of $400. You're going to do better if it's $400 to $600 in order to just compete, okay? But one of the things that people do there is they end up bidding too low and not bidding effectively. So even if you had a $600 budget, if you're wasting half of that on words that aren't going to convert, then you're not going to get any value out of your campaign, okay? Because you really only have $300 to spend on good terms. And if your bids are, you know, $5 each, that's not going to be, you know, that's only 60 clicks a month. So really what we want is we want you to have a decent budget if you're in a very competitive city, but we also want you to have a really tightly built AdWords campaign that doesn't waste half your budget. All right, so I hope that helps understand that dynamic. Marlene, can you talk about below first page and average position? It appears that an ad is still up and running even if below first page. Right. So there is a column in your AdWords panel, in your control panel, that will tell you the position of your term, your average position, okay? So they'll actually tell you, and if you're on, you know, position 14, you're not on the first page, okay? So you do want to watch that, and you probably need to bid higher for those terms. And again, look at how tightly it's built, because look at what clicks you are spending money on. Are they appropriate for your practice or not? Janelle says, thanks. Megan typed in the smart link. Great. Ken is in Los Angeles. Yeah, very competitive, Ken. No question about it. It's in LA. However, even one of those testimonials that I just talked to, she has 2 offices, one in Thousand Oaks, I guess, or Westlake Village, one of those two. And the other one in Encino, I believe. So, you know, in your neck of the woods, it can definitely work. Somebody else is saying, by the way, your webinars and the MYOB has really been very helpful as an intern. Like I mentioned earlier on MYOB, I have increased in clients recently, so thank you. You are very welcome. Good deal. Ken, thanks. Joel, not sure if you covered this or not. Is your negative AdWords list available? Ha! Yeah, if you buy a plan from us, it is. Okay, so that's like intellectual property there. We spent years developing that list to get it to where it is, adding, you know, a word at a time over many, many months, and that is very valuable for the people who buy our AdWords campaign, and that's how we make money. So if you do a campaign with us, you get it. If you don't, no, we don't just give it to people. Sorry about that, Joel. You'll have to build your own over time if you just want to do it on your own. You know, you could do it. It'll probably take you a couple of years, adding in a word at a time when you see a bad click. That's just the way it is. Kelly asks, what if I have one niche but live in a highly competitive area like San Diego? What AdWords package is best for me? Kelly, if you have one niche but you live in San Diego, you're going to want the silver campaign. And the reason for that is this. With the basic campaign, you get one ad, period. Okay, here it is. You know, we know that this has worked for couples in most cities in the country. Here it is, end of story, that's it. All right, and so really what we want to do, because things vary a lot, we want to test. We want to do multiple ads and we want to test. So having the silver is really what you want. You can't compete with just one ad. Let's see. Amber, are you offering a discount on the basic plan? I live in a small town with minimal competition. No, Amber, we're not. You know, just our overhead of getting started and getting access to your campaign and giving you the information on the campaign and all that kind of stuff. If we discounted that really low price, we wouldn't make any money at all. So that one we're not discounting. Phyllis, thanks so much. Thank you. Thanks for coming. And it looks like, I think, that I have answered all the current questions. I'm going to scroll through here really quick, see if I missed anything. But if you have another question, we're about to wrap up, so type it in quickly, and I will be happy to answer it. And again, if any of you have questions where you want to talk with me individually about something else, feel free to just go to my homepage and schedule a consult with me if you haven't had one already. Okay, all right, well, I'm going to say going, going, gone, because I don't see any other questions. So let's call it a day. Thanks, everyone, for coming. I hope you found this valuable, and we'll be letting you know about the next webinar we give next month. Okay, take care. Bye-bye.